Hello everyone and welcome to another video in the query formula series on Google Sheets. In the previous video, we looked at order by, where we are sorting our new query table that we have created using the other clauses. Okay, so we saw how to sort the data by a single column and how to add more than one condition to sort by. If all this looks very confusing to you or it's something that you have not caught up with, I would request you to please go and watch the previous videos and then join this one. Okay, so thank you so much for that. In this video, we are going to be looking at the next clause, which we actually skipped in the last video, is the pivot clause. Okay, so what is the pivot clause going to do? So go back to your pivot table experience again, right? So you have four boxes. One is rows, one is filter, one is values, and one is columns. Okay, if you put any dimension in the filter box, that becomes a filter for your pivot table. If you put any dimension in the rows, then you get the rows like this, as you can see over here. But if you put a column if you put a categorical column in the columns box, what happens is you get the values of that column getting converted to columns themselves. Okay, like for example, on this table, you have Amazon, Foot Locker, Kohl's, etc. But what if we convert the uniques of this into columns? So instead of Amazon, Foot Locker, Kohl's showing here, I want them to be shown like this, in the form of their own columns and not as this. So what will happen is then you will only have this as your rows and you'll have these as your columns. So it will form like a matrix. Okay, so if let's say men's street footwear was here, you could say for men's street footwear, for Amazon it's this much, for women's, for Kohl's it is this much, for other this much, Amazon this much, right? So you can convert all the unique values into their own columns and change the way the table is presented or used. Okay, so let us look at this table itself and see how we can do that. So let's try it with the retailer itself, okay, or with the product for that matter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this. I'm going to change these values into their own columns. Okay, and I'm going to do it only for one metric, which is total sales. Okay, so let's tweak this query formula a little bit. I'm going to remove sum of j. I'm going to remove this. Okay, so I have units sold over here. Actually no, I wanted total sales, so I'm just going to add that back. Right, so now I have total sales, product, and retailer. Okay, and I want to convert the values, the unique values of retailer, into their own columns. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We are going to use the pivot clause for that. Now if you look at the order in which the clauses work, so you have select, where, group by, pivot, and then order by. Okay, so pivot comes in between group by and order by. Okay, and let's see if we can pivot using the retailer column. So to do the pivot also, the column that you want to pivot by should not be added into the select statement, because think about it like this. If you were to take the same column and put it in rows and the columns boxes of your pivot table, would it work? It wouldn't work, because the column can either be taken as a row or it can be taken as a column. Correct? So in this case, if I put this column A in the select, it means that I am taking this column A as part of rows. And if I put it into the column, it's not going to work. So for example, now I'm going to remove this order by for now, and I'm going to add the pivot. So select A, G, sum of j, group by A, comma G, pivot A. When I do this, you see we get an error. Okay, and if you see that, no column in group and pivot, that's an error coming here. Okay, but if I remove the A from the select, if I remove this from the select here, this also has to go, because now we have only column G. As you can see, We have select G sum of J. So group by, we just need to have G here, no A. Okay, because it is only G in the select. And you can see now it's the same table. It's only that the way it is shaped has changed. So you have the product names over here and you have the retailers coming across this across the column. So you have total sales for each column. Okay, we can change this format to a number for now. Yeah. So you have all the retailers having their own columns and also having their own sales. So this is like a matrix. So men's apparel for Amazon is this much, men's apparel for Foot Locker is this much, men's apparel for Kohl's is this much, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can create your own columns out of this. So you can even flip this. You can get the retailers here and bring the products over there. But for that, you have to change everything else. So I'm going to say select A, sum of J, sum of J, group by G, it will be group by A, and pivot will be G. Okay, so now I have flipped this. I have brought the retailers as rows and I have brought the product type as the columns. Okay, so every retailer has its own row and every product type has its own column. Okay, now let us try keeping both of these in the rows, and we'll add another column as the variable to convert to columns. Okay, so let's say I'm going to go with A comma G. So I'm going to remove this pivot, do A comma G here as well. Oops, you're getting an error again. Oh, there's no comma after G. Okay, so now we have come back to the original form. Now let me use another column instead as the column, this one, so that we have two columns for rows and then we have another variable where it gets converted to columns. So if you look at the raw data, we have something called as a sales method, and this has three unique values: in store, outlet, and we have online as well. Okay, so I'm going to just tweak this. I have AG sum of J group by AG, and I'm just going to call pivot M. And you can see now that the sum of J column has now been broken into three other columns from the sales method column. So we have three values: in store, online, and outlet. Okay, and if you want to sort this, okay, let's say you want to sort this by the highest number of total sales, then you can write the order by after that. So order by sum of J TSC. Okay, so no aggregated in order when pivot sum of J. So I don't think we can order this when it is pivoted in this fashion. So we're just going to stick with this, and we're going to get the result. Okay, so using the pivot form, the pivot clause, you can convert your categorical variables into their own set of columns. When you're doing it in a select, you are already adding these as rows by default, right? The rows by which you want the data to be broken apart. But in the case of a pivot, you are bringing them into the form of their own columns, and you also have to make sure that whatever column you want to select for the pivot, that should not be selected in the select statement, right? So we have pivoted this by M, but you do not find M in the select statement. Okay, and this way you can take any other column which is there in your raw data set and do the split, and you can also do it for multiple numbers, like for multiple fact columns. So in this case, if I'm doing it for the other fact column, which is total units, sum of I, sum of J, what happens now is we have 6 columns, because for 3 values we have for 3 values of sales method, we have 2 separate columns now. So we have in store sum of units sold, online sum of units sold, outlet sum of units sold. Then you have in store sum units sold, online sum units sold, and outlet sum of units sold. Okay, so in-store online outlet for units sold and in-store online outlet for total sales. Okay, so it's not the most ideal fashion that you want your table to be in, because there can definitely arise a confusion as to are they grouped in pairs or are they grouped by the columns. But in this case, you need to understand that every label, every categorical label gets one association with the metric. Okay, so in-store sum of units sold, online units sold, and outlet, and then for the next variable, in-store, online, and total. Okay, so essentially it splits the three columns, each one gets split into half, and that's why you get 6 columns over here. So generally it is preferred that if you want to build a pivot kind of a function in your query table, it's always good to go with a single variable aggregation. Okay, so in this case, if I go with sum of j, and now this table makes much more sense, right? Because we have retailer, product, and we're looking at the total sales for each of the sales methods of the data set. Okay, so I hope this video was useful, and I hope you can use it in your day-to-day work. Please like this video and share this with your friends, and do consider subscribing to the channel for a lot more data content that's coming your way, and we will also delve into more aspects of the query formula as we go by. We don't have any clauses to cover apart from the few remaining ones, but we'll also look at other ways in which this formula can be used, and how we can make it more dynamic. All right, so I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much.